Welcome to the Apartment Guys, where we dive deep into all things multifamily investing. Our mission is to educate, inspire, and empower real estate investors to reach their highest potential. Each week, host Tate Seamer interviews high-level guests from all over the industry who are sure to bring valuable, actionable ideas that will propel your career to the next level. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned investor, you are in the right place. And now your host, the Apartment Guy, Tate Seamer.
Welcome everybody back to another episode of the Apartment Guys. And this is special announcement day at the Apartment Guys podcast. We have a very special guest who I get to work with on a daily basis. And we have a special announcement about the special guest that's on the show today. And we're lucky enough to have Chelsea Garber, the legendary Chelsea Garber, on the show with us. And as many of you know, Greenlight Equity Group is myself and Carl York, and we do deals with some partners in different markets, Columbus, Ohio, and Oklahoma City in particular. We have some different properties that we've done different structures with and brought different partners in with, but it's primarily been Carl and myself as far as everyday operations and deal sourcing and capital raising and all the things that go along with that. Until recently, not super recently, actually, I got to meet Chelsea 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, at the Michael Blanc Dealmaker Live conference, and we stayed in touch and have been working together for over a year now on a number of different projects, including a couple of Greenlight design projects, and then some acquisitions that we just got done, another we're about to get done, and another in the pipe. So we've got lots to talk about, but the big announcement is that Chelsea is a partner with Carl and myself now on a full-time basis, and is rocking and rolling with us on all facets of the business in terms of being a partner with us and making sure that our residents and our investors are as best taken care of as we can take care of them. So Chelsea, that was a super long intro with an announcement in it. But we're obviously very excited. You know, I know you're excited. Carl and I are super excited to be where we are and working together. And it's super fun to get to have you on the Apartment Guys.
Thanks, Tate. It is super fun to be here. Doing a lot of podcasts these days, but nothing is better than being with you. I feel so lucky to have both you and Carl as business partners and as friends. So for those of you who don't know me, as Tate mentioned, Chelsea Garber, I am a native New Yorker, and these guys got me to move out to Utah, of all places. So I'm now residing in Park City, Utah, and absolutely loving life. And it's been a super fantastic ride the last year. And just to kind of go back to what Tate mentioned, we met over 2 years ago at a real estate conference and really just kept in touch and supported each other in our businesses at the time. And when the opportunity arose to join Greenlight, it really, it felt very aligned and it was a no-brainer. And it's incredible what we've done in the last year.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so exciting. And we're going to get into all the gifts and natural talents and experience that Chelsea brings to Greenlight and to our projects here in just a minute. But Chelsea, why don't you share a little bit about your story, your real estate story? You mentioned you're a native New Yorker. Tell us a little bit about that and how you found your way into the apartment syndication space.
Yeah, absolutely. So born and raised in New York, I actually went to college in New York City for interior design. And believe it or not, I've had a 15 plus year career in both residential and commercial design in New York City. Worked for some award-winning design firms, and then went on to launch my own firms. And it was a really successful ride, although a bit exhausting and truthfully was burnt out by it. And I thought, I kept saying to myself, all these clients, these people I'm working for, they've amassed so much wealth, and what are they doing? And it was always the same thing. It was finance, real estate, or some one-off, invention. And I thought, okay, well, finance isn't particularly in my future. I don't have any great inventions, but I love real estate. I love transforming real estate, whether again, it be single family homes, office spaces, multifamily spaces. And, this kind of light bulb went off, and I, like most people, joined a mentorship program, Michael Blanc's program, and went through the program and learned the ins and outs of multifamily investing. Of course, that path was not that linear, but ultimately it got me to where I am today.
There had to have been something in there that pointed you in the way of Michael Blanc in particular, and in the way of apartments. I know that you did some single family stuff a little bit for a while there, but was there something or an aha moment or a conversation or something that pointed you in that direction that you remember specifically?
Yeah. So again, I think like most people was really at the time, this was 3-4 years ago, bigger pockets, everybody was listening. I was indulging in podcasts and books and, just a never ending learning fest. And I figured if I'm going to be in this multifamily space, and I figured, okay, I'm going to do what most people do, flip a couple houses. Realized very quickly that was a job with nothing passive about it. In fact, it was more stressful than anything I'd ever done in my life. I was flipping some houses in Birmingham, Alabama, living in New York, running my design firms. And quite frankly, I was probably at an all-time low because I was burnt out. I wasn't happy. And I knew there was something bigger and better out there. And I took the leap into multifamily, really just felt really connected with Michael Blanc's, was a huge fan of his platform and his podcasts and his books, and just really, his education that he was providing. So felt really good about that, and joined the program and spent a year in the program. During that time, I didn't get a deal done, but I sure as heck learned a lot, and I met some really great people. And overall, at first, I think I was already like, leave my job, move out to the West Coast. I'm going to be in multifamily. And it didn't quite happen like that. It was a 2 to 3 year progress before, I think a little over 3 years before we even got, I got my first deal under contract. So it was by no means linear, but I knew it was possible, and the opportunities were out there. And, first and foremost, just surrounding myself with like-minded people like Tate, Carl, and a lot of the other investors that we know and work with.
Yeah. And, we have no official affiliation with Michael Blanc. I mention him on the podcast pretty frequently because he's been an important mentor to us, and we've learned a lot from him. And his Dealmaker Live event is in my opinion, like certainly amongst the premier multifamily events, national events, and well worth going to. But listeners, takeaway here is this mentorship program that Chelsea did. She mentioned that she didn't actually do a deal during the program. However, Chelsea came out of the program with all of the specialized knowledge, or at least a lot of the specialized knowledge needed to do this business. She knows how to talk the talk with brokers, property managers, investors, and everybody else involved in these deals, and is really become the face of a couple of our deals in Oklahoma City, because she's so good at presenting these scenarios, which are very multifaceted, not necessarily complex, but multifaceted investment scenarios in a way that's easy to understand, is approachable, and really gets to the gets to the heart of the matter in terms of what's in it for you, and how is your risk mitigated. And Chelsea, you're just remarkable at talking the talk in this world. I won't blow your head up too much, but I'll just say that.
I know you're one of my biggest fans.
That's true.
As Tate said, and for maybe any of the more newbie listeners out there, is, this is a business where you just every day have to put one foot in front of the other. And I picked a target market, which was Oklahoma City and Tulsa. And for over 2 years, I consistently showed up in the market.
Mm-hmm.
I just to prove that one day I was going to buy there. I met with brokers, property managers, other investors, and got really comfortable to the point that when the opportunities did arise, all of our teams were already in place. So, again, this is not a get rich quick or get deals done quickly just to make an acquisition fee. This is truly a relationship building business. And I can say that when we closed on our first deal in Oklahoma City, there were 5 more lined up around the corner. And, all that hard work really, really paid off. And trust me, there were a lot of times where I questioned, how am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And it comes back to what's your why? And my why is what kept me going.
Okay. Well, then what is your why, Chelsea? It begs the question.
I think definitely, financial freedom, right? For obviously not just ourselves, but for our passive investors. I think we're living in a world that is very stressful. People have money. They're not exactly sure, what to do with it. So we provide a vehicle that we feel is, low risk and high returns. And it allows people to then free up their time and do the things that make them happy, as well as ourselves. So that's probably first and foremost is, coming back to mental health. And secondly, just seeing on a much larger scale, these communities and what we can transform. So, that might kind of lead into the next topic, which is my design firm, ROI by Design. We specifically, not only do we work on our own assets, but we work with other investors to help really beautify your properties. And it doesn't matter if it's a C class or new development. I think every person is entitled to a healthy living situation, because when people are healthy and in their best mindset, they thrive. Yeah.
And, the first official project that we've done or we did together was a 20 unit here in Utah. That was a pretty ugly, pretty hammered Class C property that needed all the love, like in every way. And we went in and spent $25,000 plus per unit on the remodels, plus a couple $100,000 on the exteriors. We repainted the exterior of the building. Chelsea was our consultant on all aspects of our redesign, colors, schemes, spatial relationships and the color scheme, and then interiors and picking out fixtures and signage and et cetera, et cetera. So, Chelsea's, wheelhouse, so to speak, amongst other skill sets is this design factor. And, for us, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like the first analogy that comes to mind is like, dating a massage therapist. It's like the fringe benefits, right? It's awesome to have a partner that has such a strong aesthetic sense. And I do, like, Carl and I have always joked that I was the aesthetic director between the two of us and made our aesthetic decisions. And I got to say, it's really nice to have your touch, Chelsea, on, in the mix now. And for me to not really have to, I guess, focus and worry a whole lot more about that side of the business. But investors out there, if you are doing anything from a single family house to, especially once you get into multifamily and you're trying to transform a community and raise rent significantly, amongst other things, you should be doing significant CapEx projects on your exteriors. And that should be fencing, signage, landscaping, lighting, certainly paint or siding or whatever goes on the side. Roofing is an obvious one, gutters, etc. And Chelsea and her company, her designers, specialize in consulting with you on what elements are going to really make somebody feel wonderful that lives at that community and that property. So everybody out there should have Chelsea on speed dial, because she's got the design thing nailed. And if I don't know anyone else in the business that focuses specifically on this aspect of things. And there's some big syndicators out there that are using Chelsea's services. So Chelsea, anything to say about that unsolicited advertisement for your company?
No, I appreciate that. I think I'll kind of just take a step back and tell you a little bit about how actually ROI by Design was born. Because, as I've told you earlier, my career has truly been in design and construction, and I've worked in everybody from Tommy Hilfiger's to Regis Philbin's house to these crappy $50,000 flips in Birmingham, Alabama, and everything in between. But the one thing that I truly noticed in multifamily was that there's been a major disconnect, I think, on what people spend on their properties and really what the outcome is. And after looking at tons of properties ourselves, I thought to myself, I go, there has to be a solution here other than relying on your property manager or contractor to come up with these, really important design decisions. So ROI by Design was actually a COVID birth baby. And in the last little over a year, we've probably done over almost 40 projects and over 3,000 units nationwide, and have built a really successful vertical here just targeted for multifamily investors, and have a handful of designers on my team. So although the face, I'm largely focused on acquisitions and green light and, our properties, but I do oversee the design of our other investor properties. And, like Tate mentioned, we do everything from exterior design, whether it's signage and wayfinding, rebranding, to paint colors, lighting fixtures. We'll do 3D renderings to give you a really cool after image, to full on interior remodels. So, whether it be LVP flooring, plumbing fixtures, bathroom accessories, we'll do amenity spaces, clubhouses, leasing offices, or adding dog parks, game courts, cornhole. Everybody loves cornhole. and,
yes,
and furnishings as well. So it's really a one-stop shop for everything multifamily design. And we put together turnkey design packages. And, like Tate mentioned, it's been a huge benefit within our company to have this vertical, but also to be able to offer it to other investors. So at the end of the day, our mission, not only at Greenlight, but at ROI by Design, is really helping as many communities and people thrive. And by doing so, we need to up the standards aesthetically. So that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. And I think one of the many reasons why there's such great alignment between ROI by Design and Greenlight, and in particular between Chelsea and myself and Carl, is this alignment of values as far as what we're intentional about creating at our communities. And, we're buying often pretty distressed properties that have been neglected, undercapitalized, mismanaged, et cetera. And the reason why there's an opportunity for us there is because that's been the case. So it's kind of the nature of the beast. However, it's our intention to go in and make these properties really shine. No matter if they're, workforce level, Class C plus, Class B minus type housing, it's under our watch. These communities are going to thrive. They're going to be safe. They're going to be clean, well lit. They're going to have nice amenities that work. Everything's going to always function as far as washing machines and
light bulbs.
light bulbs and and they're going to be very, very well managed properties. And so basically do this every property as if we're going to be the long-term owners of the property forever. Although that's often not going to be the case just because of our business plan and the way that properties in this asset class go through cycles and whatnot. But we make decisions from the perspective of this is going to be our property, and we want it to do very, very well for a long time. And one example of that, a very simple example, is using luxury vinyl plank flooring, which is essentially bulletproof. It's so durable, and it looks beautiful, and it's clean. It doesn't hold dirt and mold and pet dander and everything else that a carpet holds. That's one thing we do in every single one of our communities. So just an example of a way that, number one, we're making the property nicer for the tenant. And number two, we're making it really nice for the ownership group and management when turnovers happen, because you don't have to clean carpets or replace carpets. But just back to the alignment of interests. I just think it's really fun on a daily basis to kind of do this business together, and basically kind of it's almost like we're playing in a band at this point. We've been doing it long enough to know like what the other person's going to do, and generally like how they play the game, and for better or for worse sometimes, I guess. But overall, I think that's, for Greenlight and our brand and our company, our portfolio, like we're so much better together as a team than we would be on our own. That's goes without saying. So we're thrilled.
I think it's a win for everybody. It's a win for our team, which then trickles down to our tenants, which then trickles down to our investors. And we're not reinventing the wheel here. When it comes to design, we're just translating luxury finishes into affordable solutions, and everybody should have that accessible to them. And we're able to do that, certainly within our portfolio, and ROI by Design is now doing that with, as you mentioned, investment groups all over the country. So we're not going to say, we're on tight budgets here, very tight budgets.
Yeah.
So this is not a spend more. It's how do we spend less, but create the most value? And I mean, we're doing everything from, like must-haves, right? Like implementing water conservation studies, low flow toilets, LED light fixtures. What are ways to cut down on utilities and therefore increase the NOI? Because at the end of the day, that's the bottom line. And when we go to sell properties, that's where we're the most profitable. So these small implementations go a long way. And I know maybe Tate, you're going to ask me, but the people always ask, what is like the biggest return on your investment, right? And I never like to say one particular thing, but I will say that curb appeal really is important, and paint colors. And paint colors are hard. There's more to just gray and white, right? And having great curb appeal sets the tone for the rest of your community. And I always say signage is really important too, that it just says, okay, these people care about their property and they care about their tenants. So, two things to keep in mind, I would say, when, designing a property, first and foremost, starting with the exterior and making sure that translates to the interior, and all the way down to, the management, really. And we could talk about a whole nother day about that, but
yeah, for sure. Management is such a key part of this game. And we could talk another whole episode about management and our management, like who we're working with and why we like them as much as we do, and why we feel as strongly as we do about them. I think suffice to say that they're once again aligned with us in our vision of what kind of community we want to create. And again, we just want a place. We want these communities to truly be communities of people that are interdependent, that thrive together, living in a tight space, a high density kind of situation, and where people feel generally safe and taken care of, and have their housing needs well met by us and our managers and the people that work with us and for us. So Chelsea, talk a little bit about, well, actually, before we get into that, I want to highlight something from a little ways back. And that is, again, hitting on the mentorship program, what you did with that and what you did from that. And I think it was brilliant because you picked one market. And, a lot of people will say, oh, I don't know, one market's not enough. It doesn't feel like there's going to be enough opportunity in one market. Like, I think I'm going to do 2 or 3 or 4. And you picked one and invested all of your time, money, resources, efforts, relationships, et cetera, in that market, and spent, a long time there before, like you said, before you got your first deal under contract. You built an infrastructure of relationships there. And like, that is such a great way of going about this business. And it illustrates a few things. It illustrates that this is a long game, and to do this business well and to build a business, not just do deals, but to build a business, you go out and you build those relationships. So it's not the deals that, we're doing deals and we have deals right now we're doing, et cetera, but it's more the relationships that we're working, right? And it's more the connections and like, those are the people that we're going to be working with in 2 years, 3 years, and on other deals and more deals. And I just want to, kind of highlight that and acknowledge you for that, because that's an exercise. What you did was an exercise in patience and persistence and vision too. Like, you got to hold the vision that this is where I'm going to build a portfolio and do a lot of really good business, whether or not I'm doing it right this hot moment. This is where it's going to happen. So good job.
Yeah. And I think it comes from a place of, I know, Tate, you're huge on this, is serving others, right? It going into those markets and not being, what can you do for me? Right. It's what can I do for you? So, at certain times I might not have had, opportunities to buy deals, maybe just that they weren't present, but I could connect people. I found great property managers and I connected them with other operators or, brokers, and shared deals, and really came from an abundance mindset. And like you said, I think a lot of little things went a long way. So, handwritten notes, little thank you gifts, even as I know I was giving out Starbucks gift cards, like every time I went out there, just, hey, great meeting you, send a note, buy yourself a coffee on me. Like, people remember that and they want to meet you again when you show up. So, and I think too, by sticking in one market, I also didn't want to be a small fish in a big pond. I come from, big cities, and I felt in this particular market that it was a place that I could really get to know people and be friends with people and, take it a step further, and see what they like, what are their goals, right? And help them achieve their goals. And it always comes full circle. And, here we are 3 years later, just closed on 51 units a couple months ago, about to close on 190 plus. And we've got some, 300 plus units in the, prop communities in the pipeline. So it's just huge. And, you always say it, and I always say, it's like the law of the first deal. The first one came, the second one was knocking on our door and delivered on a silver platter because of the relationships that we had built. Just be likable, just be a good person and go there, not, thinking of others, not yourself.
Yep. Yep. I think, be authentic, be yourself, be confident. Hopefully that is your authentic self is you have some confidence in who you are and what you're up to and your ability to get the job done, your ability to put people together and bring a team together if you need to, your resourcefulness, et cetera. Like you got to know yourself in this business is really a very, very important element. And knowing your superpower is part of that. But I think also like what I found is like, this business has like shown me like myself in some ways that like aren't always like the prettiest thing to look at. Like you got to kind of know your weaknesses too, I think to a certain degree, because we talk about this all the time being a team sport. And when you know your weaknesses, number one, you can kind of mitigate or make up for them in professional ways on your own. But more importantly, you can kind of fill in the gaps on your team, bringing in people who have the strengths that you may not necessarily have yourself. And, we're all really good at certain things. And they're all different for different people. But we all are not good at other things. And that's okay. Like that's the way we're built. And I have yet to meet anyone in this business that does this on their own really well, except for maybe Tim Watkey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I will openly say that going through, the first year in multifamily or really 2 years, I thought for sure I was going to do this on my own. And, my mentor was saying, oh yeah, you can do it. You could take down, a $1, $2, $3 million deal. And ultimately could I have? Probably, but it wasn't going to get me very far. And truthfully, it wasn't till, we all really put our heads together and thought, like you said, we each bring something so valuable to the table that we can 10x anything that we would do alone. And and this is really a mental game. It's hard. Getting deals done are not easy. And there was a couple points in our last deal. And I was like, Tate, like, how in the heck are we going to get this done? And you were like, don't worry, we're going to get it done. I was like, okay, if Tate says we're going to get it done, we're going to get it done. and like vice versa. And it's just a shoulder to lean on. And when you don't believe, when your vision, you don't believe in it for whatever reason, because every day is not perfect. You pick yourself back up with, pick up the slack, and that's what, teammates and partnerships are for. So, Tate and Carl are two of the greatest guys I know, and I'm so fortunate to have joined Greenlight, and I know we're just going to continue to absolutely crush it together.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. One of our mentors, Tim Bratz, he says that he'd rather have a slice of a watermelon than all of a grape. And that's what came to mind when you were talking about 10xing what we can do together. And versus what we could each do on our own. And it's I like listeners call me, like go to investwithgreenlight.com, set up an appointment, and let me just tell you, like, for 5 minutes, like what all the different aspects of what we do. I'd actually really love to share it with you, and because I think it'll give you guys a really good idea of, like, number one, the big picture, but also number two, like the different skill sets and activity sets and roles and responsibilities that there are within these teams that you could, find yourself excelling in and really contributing the most amount of value that you can to a team or to a syndication team. And that's like one of the very best ways to get involved, is to know what you have to offer of high value, and how it could translate really well to this business and to a team like ours or somebody else's, and look for opportunities and go out and, like Chelsea was doing, hey, this is, what do you guys need? Like, how can I help you? What's your game? What's your end game? What are you guys trying to achieve? What's your next step? What's keeping you from getting there? Like, if you get into other people's worlds and really come from a place, like you said, Chelsea, of service, contribution, of like basically just bringing other people along for the ride. Like I believe that part of our success is an obligation to help others through it. And as you know, use it to reach down, and not necessarily down, but reach back and help bring the next person along. And I love this podcast for that reason. I hope, every time we do one, I really do, in my heart of hearts, hope that somebody's life is affected in a positive way, and somebody's business is affected in a positive way. So, and I think no matter what you're doing in business or in life, if you're coming at everybody and everything from a place of like, what's up with you? And, how can I help you? And what's going on in your world? Like, think about how rare that is in this world, really. Like, maybe in our space, it's a little more common because this is a very much a value add contribution culture in our space, I think. But in general, in the world, as we know, it's all about what can you do for me, and what have you done for me lately, and all that stuff. And it sounds a little cliche and kind of cheesy, but when I started this podcast, I had no idea how much I was going to love it from that perspective, like the contribution perspective of being able to make a difference and, help people make quantum leaps in their business and in their lives. So it's super exciting. So
hats off to you, Tate, because this podcast is how much I know you and I see how much joy you get out of this. Is like, you truly love sharing this with other people, and you bring on high level guests. I shouldn't even be sitting in this seat today. Truthfully, there's probably 10 people lined up that everybody knows.
Anybody on my team is welcome on my show anytime.
But, and I'm not just saying it because you're my partner, but I don't have a lot of time and for podcasts these days. Right. When I do, I always go to yours because you're authentic. You add value, and the people that you bring on, like, I'm like taking notes, like, it's awesome. But I think just to kind of say what Tate said, one last thing is, give to people with no expectations of anything in return. That is like the greatest service you can do. And that's sort of what we're doing here in our multifamily business is, serving people who, might have a better opportunity now at life, or their kids have a better, backyard to play in. And we always say we are now responsible for however many units we have. That's how many families we're responsible for. And we take that extremely seriously. We actually had one of our property managers tell us that one of our properties was a little rough around the edges, and we're turning it around. And she said she had a pizza party today, and everybody came out, and she's like, they were so nice and thankful that somebody would just listen to her and hear them out. These people didn't have air conditioning for months. They didn't even have light bulbs outside their front door. I mean, the previous owner was a slumlord. So to come and just do what we consider normal practice, like, we're changing people's lives, and that just, warms our hearts, and it feels really good inside. Yeah.
Yep. It sure does. So, kind of on a starting to round it out sort of note, what are your thoughts and feelings and visions about the future?
I just to continue on the path that we're on and stay true to our values and our vision. We have lofty goals, and I shouldn't even say lofty because they're achievable, and they're so close to being achieved. And, as our business increases and we keep building this machine, just to continue to serve others and build beautiful communities and improve the quality of people's lives and neighborhoods, just one property at a time. And, not only to be able to do that in-house with green light from a design perspective, but, ROI by design, like I mentioned, is, we're working nationwide with other investors on, as little as 4 units to 300 plus units. We've done new development projects. Our suite space is definitely C-class value add assets. But again, I think Greenlight and ROI by Design, we have a shared vision and values, and that's to help as many people, increase the quality of their lives and increase the returns on our investments.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Couldn't have said it better. I love it. Yeah, we do have some pretty big goals, as a company, and we're in the middle of what I think of as like a 3 to 4 or 5 year sprint, so to speak, like a long sprint. But one of the things we jokingly talk about in the company and in our culture is work hard, play harder, go big,
go
or
bigger.
go bigger. Our other one. But yeah, I personally feel like playing hard, this is a lifestyle conversation, but I feel like playing hard and really enjoying, like sucking the marrow out of life on that level, whether it's what we do, like skiing, mountain biking, hiking, playing in the desert, playing in the mountains, or, whatever it is for you, if it's art, if it's food, if, et cetera, like that fuels your working hard, in my opinion. And for me, like, I know if I am like if I'm in the middle of a Thursday and it's just kind of like the grind is kind of set in, I know I've got to play super hard that weekend to get it all back.
We're living our best 5-star lives over here.
Yeah. So yeah, the 5-star life is another point of reference that we embody and refer to a lot in the company. And my big why is to live as large a life as I can. And by large, I mean that not necessarily financially, although that's part of it. And it wouldn't be authentic to say that it's not, but large on every level and all the important levels on, on the level of this spiritual level on down to relationships and family and my inner life and, all the important things that make life worth living and make life a joy to live. So yeah, I mean, it's a pleasure to get to do this with you, Chelsea, on a day-to-day basis. And I'm super stoked for what you and Carl and I have going on, and the people that we have in our court, all our power team, and the Tim Walkies of the world, and people that we love and are part of our journey. And really looking forward to seeing where this goes. It's fun co-creating in the universe, so to speak, because on the one hand, you get to be intentional and you get to kind of be a powerful creator, so to speak. On the other hand, like, you never know exactly how it's going to go, and you never know exactly how it's going to show up. And a lot of times it goes a lot better than you think it's going to go. And often in this industry, there's challenges that you don't see coming, and that happens too. So anyway, on that, hey, you know what? I'm going to steal something from my buddy Ruben Greth here real quick, because you're the first person that I've really thought to ask this question of, because I think you're going to have the best answer ever. What is your all-time favorite vacation?
My all-time favorite vacation is, I definitely would have to say St. Bart's.
Okay.
The luxury of Caribbean, but you get like obnoxious French people. Sorry. I mean, I love the French people, but great food. It's bougie. It's 5-star. You got to get there on a couple airplanes. But it is just a magical place with fantastic energy. And I've been fortunate enough to go a couple times, and maybe someday in my future, I'll have a little retirement bungalow there. But
well, when we hit 1,000 doors in OKC, we'll have to do something like a St. Bart's company trip.
We're going to do BVIs. Yeah. We're going to
BVIs. Okay. Yeah. We've talked about this. That's right.
Yeah. We're going to do island hopping.
I should know this. Isn't St. Bart's kind of near BVIs? general
They're
area?
in the West. So the St. Barts, St. Barts
Yeah.
is the British West Indies. So,
Got it.
but
Cool.
magical place and great food. But and it's fun. We play hard, we work hard, and everybody should be celebrating their wins. So we're going to keep cranking because got to take the team to the BVIs.
Yeah. Listen, to me, if you're not celebrating your win, it's kind of like not following through on your golf swing. Like celebrating your win is part of your form. Like that needs to happen. So and celebrating the failures too, and the lessons, and the way that the ways that you can fail forward, is another aspect of this, because you make mistakes, and sometimes things don't go the way you want them to. So, but BVI sounds awesome. Can't wait for that. So on that note, Chelsea, any last words of great wisdom for our listeners?
No, I mean, just thank you again, Tate, our partner, Carl, who is probably listening in the background here. And I would just say to everybody out there, just keep connecting with good people who share similar values, and build a team, and you'll get to where you want to go a heck of a lot faster. And I'm just fortunate to be on this ride of life and business with Tate and Carl at Greenlight. And as always, if anybody out there needs some help on the design front, ROI by Design, we're all over Facebook, LinkedIn. You can find us, get in touch with me. My team will set you up for a consultation and see, how we can help you reposition your asset and, ROI, return on investment. That's our goal.
Sure. So ROIbydesign.com.
Yep. It's ROI-bydesign.com. Easiest way to get in touch with me is probably LinkedIn, Facebook, just Chelsea Garber. I'm on there pretty frequently, and just love to connect with people, whether it be multifamily, design, skiing, horseback riding, anything I'm passionate about or you're passionate about. Let's talk. Awesome.
Yeah, guys, again, if you're not on LinkedIn, just quick side note, like be on LinkedIn. It's a good place to be right now. It's really vibrant. It's probably where Facebook was about 8 years ago, maybe, in my opinion, as far as the organic nature of the content. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity. So takeaway number 10 from this episode is get on LinkedIn and work it. So with that, listeners, you've listened to the end of another one of these, which so thank you for. And we will be back with another one of these awesome guests next week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you, Tate.
Thanks for listening to The Apartment Guys with Tate Seamer. Tate and friends are grateful to have you as a loyal listener. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe, rate, review, and share with friends on your Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, or any other podcast platform. Also, check out Tate's YouTube channel for videos of many of these episodes and more. Until next time, take massive action steps and rock on.